Hi, how are you, Kim?
Hi, Anastasia. I'm good, thank you. And yeah, thanks for making the call. It's nice and bright and early where I am.
Lovely to see you here. Thank you for the sacrifice. I know it's quite early and bright in the morning. Thank you
No
for the
problem.
sacrifice. So just want to just start by you telling us about you instead of me introducing you. I figure nobody can tell your story better than you can.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Anastasia. So yeah, look, I'm a Kiwi with residence in Australia, Hong Kong, and here in the Middle East in the United Arab Emirates. And yeah, I was brought up in semi-rural New Zealand. Very standard upbringing. No computers, no WhatsApp, no videos. Very much semi-rural upbringing. A lot of animals. A lot of very multicultural society, really, compared to many countries in the world. And yeah, lots of sport. A lot of, as I say, no real technology back in the day when I was being brought up, and just a pretty good upbringing. A lot of outdoors. I belonged to Boy Scouts. I used to go out and the hiking in the mountains and lakes and volcanoes. And New Zealand, of course, is a very rich natural country, the newest country to come out of the sea geologically. And they're very fond memories. And great family and lots of kids to play with and a good education system. So I'm very thankful for that. And then I moved, I was brought up in New Zealand and opened a trucking company at the age of about 18, and I worked in logistics and supply chain, where I still am in that sector. And yeah, and then moved to Australia in the 90s after holding some senior roles in New Zealand in corporate and the logistics and aviation sector, and to Australia, and started this company, Logistics Executive Group, which is a global consulting and mergers and acquisitions and executive search firm, which has offices right throughout the Asia Pacific, India, here in the Middle East, and in Europe. In the middle of that, about 2006, which I think you probably want to talk about today, I commenced with some friends, Oasis Africa in Kenya.
Lovely, amazing story to hear there. 19 years already an entrepreneur. How come?
Look, I think from a very early age, I was brought up to try different things and be entrepreneurial. I had a paper run, and got used to packing shelves while I was at school. And we were just a very middle class family. Didn't have a lot of excess funds, and so it was important that the kids worked. And so I always got used to doing odd jobs and doing work where I could, and working in school holidays, and then eventually, as I say, at a very early age, to supplement my education, university, I started a trucking company, and I did that for about 14 years, and that was midnight to midday, delivering food products around Wellington in New Zealand, my hometown. So it was 6-7 days a week for about 14 years. So yeah, you learn to sort of be an entrepreneur and get things done. I had 2 or 3 other businesses on the side while I was doing that and running the trucking company.
Right. So great drive there, and clearly being brought up from a humble background and then rising 40 years of a career, and a great career. I look up to you. You've done so well. So what keeps you going? What drives you?
Yeah, well, I think a passion for making things happen and seeing change. I was brought up in a very liberal education system, co-ed schooling. The high school was the most radical high school in New Zealand at the time, where we went on strike, which is unheard of, to get rid of hair length restrictions. So my hair was down to about here. Even when I was playing rugby in the first 15. We went on strike the next year to get rid of uniforms, actually. I was at college in Wellington in New Zealand. But, always encouraged to, undertake business ventures, small business ventures to make things happen. And I thought once I could see what could be achieved, you take responsibility, not always successfully, but if you take responsibility and you work hard, you can achieve incredible amounts of things. You can create employment for other people. You can affect people's lives, and make something happen. I think that certain people enjoy sort of creating, being creative, and enjoying doing things, and trying to lead, as opposed to necessarily follow. And we all have to lead or follow at various times. We can't be leaders all the time. So I got the bug. New Zealand society.
Great to be a leader. Why does this interest you, being a leader? I'm very keen on understanding that part. You've always led. I've always known you to drive things. Why?
Yeah, well, I can assure you I don't always lead. I've got a business now, and that it's got a lot of people in it, all around APAC and the Middle East and here in Europe. And of course, the real trick is to bring in people into an organisation or into any enterprise who can take the next step and be the next set of leaders. And I'm at a stage now where have been for many years where the art form is more about identifying the talent around you that can do better and knows more, is smarter in various areas that can take things to the next level. And that's very much the way I see it. But as I say, New Zealanders tend to be very can-do type of people, and not afraid to take chances and get their knees scraped and maybe not always be successful, but try things trial and error. I think there's too much emphasis probably in leadership in these days of everybody getting it right first time or being highly successful, outrageously successful. I've never had aspirations to be over the top. It's been more about enjoying what I'm doing, feeling like I'm making a difference, creating something viable and useful, and being in a situation where I can bring other people in and around me who can contribute to that team effort. So, I think upbringing is part of it. I think just mindset, maybe having a liberal, open education as well, and understanding that we live in a world that's very divisive and very disparate these days. Things are a lot more collaborative when I was being brought up, and when I grew up in my early career, there's a lot more focus on collaboration and all of the above. These days, things have changed a lot. So I think there's even more need now for collaborative and cooperative leadership than there was even before.
Okay, you say some very key words there: mindset, collaboration in leadership. For me, leadership is about influence, and I bet that's what you're getting at. It's not about a title, it's not about holding an office. It's literally about being able to influence people. What do you understand by conscious leadership?
Well, I think the first point about influence, influence is a very nebulous term. It means many, many different things to different people. And throughout history, we've seen, influence used by the wrong people for the wrong reasons. So as a business owner and a leader and enterprise leader in different organizations, I take that role of influence very seriously. I think it has been very badly used many times in history. And you have to look through world wars and I think around some of the political scenes around the world at the moment, there's very poor use of influence and leadership. And so I think that puts more pressure on people to really make good decisions and to make sure that they are doing what is they consider to be right, and seeking guidance and input and influence from others about, what they should be doing, and especially if you're affecting other people's lives.
Yeah. So we went to bed at some point last year, and then we woke up in 2020. We were excited. It was the beginning of a new decade, and 2020 has turned to be both a blessing but also a challenge. Talk to us about the blessings and the challenges of you as a business leader in 2020.
Well, I think first of all, I'll hit with the challenges. We've had some very serious health challenges, the biggest of the last 100 years, supposedly, with COVID, of course, which should have been very predictable, and some people did, but most of those with influence and power and leadership at a global scale didn't take account of the sort of things that Bill Gates and others were talking about for some time. So it's very unfortunate. It's very challenging. It's very tragic. It's tipped the world on its head to a large extent. You've probably got about 2 billion of the 7.3 billion people in the world by Christmas time in the informal economy around the world who are going to struggle to feed themselves. So the challenges for leadership are enormous and just completely out of mind for many people having to come to terms with that. Which means people in leadership roles, whether they be in business roles or non-for-profits or government situations, puts enormous pressure on the way that they make decisions and how they use their influence. I think at the same time, there's enormous opportunities arisen. My business in the logistics and supply chain sector as corporate advisors and as project managers and business project people, we see all the time opportunity to assist companies to strive forward, to pivot, to change. In regards to the e-commerce world, of course, which we're very connected with and do a lot of advisory and a lot of recruitment in. There's massive opportunity. The shipping world has done very, very well by managing capacity and matching capacity to demand. E-commerce has gone up anywhere between 50 and 100%. So there are jobs. I mean, Amazon said yesterday it's going to hire another 100,000 people in the US, for example, over the Christmas peak. But of course, that's tempered by the fact that there are tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people that have lost their roles during this period. So, leaders then must take the opportunity to lead with influence of empathy, understanding. So many people working from home, huge population of the world now working from home. People finding out the value of online communications, such as what we're using today with Zoom and Teams and your channel, needing to change the way we do things. So the opportunity is, especially for the younger generations coming through, is to seize the opportunity with technology, finding better ways of doing things, being more efficient and achieving significant goals, whether they be personal, political or enterprise commercial goals and business goals, by utilising technology and looking to make the right decisions there.
Okay, I'll just hold that off there because you mentioned something that I want to tie in with Oasis Africa. Talk to us about Oasis Africa first.
Yeah, Oasis Africa Australia.org.au is a non-for-profit organisation which is based legally in Australia under a non-for-profit humanitarian organisation, charity licence to raise funds under very strict government audit in Australia. The way that came about was I happened to be in business through Logistics Executive Group and doing some consulting work in Kenya in 2005. Was in Nairobi, doing some work there for DHL, which is one of our global clients. And I received a call from a colleague of mine, and she had indicated that she had a Kenyan friend and that they heard that not far from where I was in the hotel in Nairobi, there was a slum called Kibera Slum, which you'll be familiar with, bordering on Nairobi National Park. So just next to the city with 1 million people in 4 square miles. And the long story short is there was a bunch of 50 kids or so there that they'd heard about through a church group who were trying to get a teacher, trying to find a school, mostly orphaned children who really were looking for education. Long story short, I found my way into that slum with some assistance of some paramilitary people that we were working with at the time on a project, and we found the kids, and after a bit of negotiating, secured a building, commenced a primary school, and about 15 or 16 years later, after some enormous help, incredible input by a whole range of people, especially the project managers, Ross and Karen Howe, who live in Brisbane, I think you've met, who managed that project on a completely FOC basis, out of humanitarian, without any form of payment. And they're major contributors, plus the people that helped start it. And ultimately we've managed to educate over 8,000 kids right the way up to university level. We have about 30, 40 kids at university, not during COVID and home at the moment, but providing freedom from poverty through education. And that's the ethos and the banner of the organisation. And it's meant, many trips in there, many sponsors, thousands of people from the logistics and supply chain attending our fundraisers in Sydney over the years, and big significant contribution, as you'd be aware, from the Kenyan community in Sydney in particular, and across Australia, supporting what has been a very successful humanitarian organisation since 2006.
You've done really, really well, Kim. So many people go to Africa sometimes with a savior mentality, wanting to save Africa and things. And every time I hold a discussion about Africa, there's a level of passion. You just use this passion about Africa. Why education?
I think, I take to your point about, people having, wearing their heart on their sleeves and going to try and save, Africa or Asia or whatever. And all of the above, and I can assure you I had no such intentions when I happened to be there on business. It was really responding to a request to go and help out on something, and the reason I helped out is because I could, and what I found there was pretty disturbing, and it was really a matter of, I either walked away and didn't tell anybody about what I'd seen in the slum, for a fairly desperate situation, and still is. And there are many slums like this in Kenya, right across East Africa, right across the whole of Africa, of course, because of the great divide in prosperity and those who have and have not. But it was something that I could take effect and do something about there and then. And I just made that decision. Well, I'm going to do it, but of course it wasn't done alone. And I do have many, hundreds and hundreds of people to thank who have taken ownership of that Oasis Africa Australia project. And it's a locally organised and locally funded, so the funding goes in and, as I say, audited, goes into the local community. It's managed very, very carefully with a number of mentors and coaches on site, Kenyans looking after the affairs of the children at high school and what have you, and during these times organising care packs and making sure that their well-being is catered for when they can't be at school, and if they don't have families, that they're housed and taken care of and protected during this process. So look, I think again, it's a matter of making decisions and where you can have a positive influence and a positive impact, even though it's going to have a really big impact on your life. And I had no idea that it would permeate my life the way it did. Having said that, no regrets. And there are times in life when you look at my case, I've had a number, over a dozen of near-death experiences for whatever reason. And on occasions when you think the light is just about to go out, your mind does go to, what have I left? Because I'm leaving here, and what have I left behind? And, the contribution to helping 8,000 plus kids getting an education, give them an opportunity at making their way in life, creating a platform for them, is one of those things that actually runs past your mind, past my mind when the crunch was coming.
Yeah. Well, talking about near-death experiences, I know you're a triathlete and an ex-rugby player, and I'm going to talk a bit about that in terms of discipline and things. But I know you're very big on health and making sure you're eating right. Talk to us about that, because I bet sometimes as leaders, particularly with the way you do and the way you work and being so busy and being up and about everywhere, there's so many temptations to just think, I'll just get in and grab a burger. Talk to us about health and eating right.
Yeah, I've probably eaten way too many burgers in my time, but look, I just think food and health is part of the balance. I think most of us struggle, especially with this lockdown scenario over the last 7 or 8 months, to keep that balance. I think to keep mentally and physically fit, food is a key component. I think there's way too much emphasis on the results and the treatment and treatment. Drugs treatment and all of the above to try and keep people healthy. I think you have to go on LinkedIn and follow some of the gurus about just staying healthy and fit. and trying, especially during the tough times that we've had, and a lot of people have not been able to continue their normal routines, keep a balance in all things. I mean, I'm no nutrition expert, so I won't talk much about food, but I think we all know what's good for you. You guys from Kenya, very well aware, most of your food's organic, so get your greens in and get plenty of vegetables and keep a balance around that. But certainly over the years, I've had a couple of health issues, and learning more about how to take better care of oneself, it certainly helps for longevity.
Yeah. All right, Kim. There's so many people out there who've started business, and statistics actually say that about 70% of the businesses are started, they fail within 1 year. What has kept you going?
Well, I think that the stats are more like probably 90% of businesses fail in 1 year from what I've read and what I've seen. Look, I think it comes down to a drive. I mean, not everybody aspires to own their own business and run their own businesses. And, certainly over 21 years, the Logistics Executive Group, still headquartered in Australia, but with offices right throughout Asia, as I said, and all the way up through here and into Europe. I think that comes down to personal drive and decision making. A lot of people are extremely happy in working for other people, or working for a government, or certainly going into the military. Think about all the people who are in healthcare and first responders, whose profile, to be honest, was never as strong as what it is now. And you look at the fantastic job these people have had to do and still are doing, and the kudos, and the medical practitioners and psychologists, people dealing with stress and depression and suicide. It's been fantastic to see those people come to the fore and get the recognition that they really should get in society, as opposed to the service provider roles that they necessarily would have just had previously. They're the genuine heroes that we see now. I think that has been excellent, that rebalancing. But if you come back to entrepreneurship, there's massive opportunities. And I highly recommend people have got a bee in their bonnet or a bug about creating an app or doing something, because a lot of it's online these days. A lot of it's data and artificial intelligence and e-commerce and what have you. We're fortunate to serve and deal with and support and consult to many of those types of companies globally, especially in the logistics and supply chain sector. But I think it's about balance. What keeps people going is you've got to have a good home life. You've got to seek happiness. It's whatever turns you on, really. If you're happy to be working on a farm and picking berries or whatever, which I think more and more people are interested in doing, rather than being tied up and working in a big city, as we see the cities empty out. I think it's a matter of being in touch enough with yourself to understand what makes you tick. Be honest with yourself at all times, and seek guidance and input and mentorship and coaching. I'm a professional coach. I have the honour of working and the good fortune of working with senior executives all over the world, and helping them discover, what it is that really turns them on, what helps them find that drive, and what's the trigger for their ability and their influence and their leadership capability.
Okay, so we've got a girl child somewhere in Kibera, we've got Anjeri somewhere in Kibera, just totally confused. An orphan, doesn't have any hope, doesn't know what to do, but they are listening to this and thinking, I'd want to get into logistics, or I want to do something with my life. Where do they start?
Well, I think the first thing is trying whatever way possible to get education. Education really is the key. And as I indicated, for us, it's all about education, freedom from poverty through education. And more so, as well as that little girl, it's anybody else who's listening who wants to contribute and wants to help and try and make a change in the world and make a difference, and find a way of contributing towards providing an education to kids. And whether that's through Oasis Africa, Australia, oasisafrica.org.au, whether it's through many other organisations, either in the countries of origin or in countries like Australia. That's very important. But for youngsters, I mean, I find the vast majority of kids in second and third world, as well as first world countries, kids want to learn. They seek nourishment. They see aircraft in the sky, not so many currently, but they see trucks. They see things moving. They see people dressing up and going into the city, and they naturally want to understand more and find out more and achieve and be like other people. Of course, the vast majority of us, our futures and our career paths are completely random. Many people in my day and age, it was just random that wherever they ended up. I think there's much better guidance these days. So from educational institutions that can identify what sort of areas are going to suit kids to get into, I think that's the trick. What options does a child have in a slum? Unless there's some level of platform support, those options, unfortunately, are very limited. So it behoves the rest of us around the world who have choices, who have an education, who've been able to, achieve certain things in their lives to give back. And that's my message to many leaders. Leadership these days widely recognised as to what opportunities you provide to others, and how you encourage others to come through and lead and have influence and generate excitement in organisations, and how you develop talent, identify and develop talent, which is the upside of our executive recruitment business, is helping companies identify talent to bring through and make positive change, show empathy, show genuine capability and leadership to encourage others to improve and grow businesses and expand opportunities for others.
Kim, you're an executive coach and you're a mentor to many. What do you think is the purpose of coaching in one's life?
Well, there's a lot of confusion about executive coaching versus mentoring. Just a quick heads up. I mean, the way I see it and generally accepted in the coaching fraternity is, mentoring is sharing your influence, sitting around the campfire globally and sharing what you've achieved or the mistakes you've made and sharing those things with people. Coaching is very much professional executive coaching is all about working with a partner, usually in a corporate setting or maybe on a one-on-one setting, in terms of somebody outside of the corporate field wanting to overcome challenges or develop certain areas in their own capabilities. Coaching is using, structures and pathways to work with an individual on a very confidential, professional way, but obviously a very personal way as well, to unlock their potential, and using some very, very well tried and tested and utilised structures and guides to be able to, and a lot of questions to unlock in the person, as opposed to, so if I was working with you in a coaching environment, if I was a mentor, I'd be sharing a lot of information with you about various things that had happened, so you can pick up and take guidance maybe from that. That was something that you're interested in. Whereas when I'm coaching, I'm asking you a lot of questions. We have to map out what it is you want to achieve. We have to work out some activities and some outcomes that we're looking to achieve from that session, usually 3, 6, 12 months, and look at what the various benchmark periods are and what we're looking to try and achieve. And if it's a corporate, it's a sponsorship by the corporate from executive, it's a matter of coming back. Whilst we can't talk about what confidentially takes place in the coaching sessions, which is highly confidential, but the outcomes, there is agreed points between the coachee, the coach, and the sponsor, the corporate organisation, as to what objectives we're looking to achieve, and look to balance and assess against and measure against what those objectives are. This executive coaching is a fee for paid service, so it's something that has a serious investment, and people are looking to develop more normally in a coaching environment in a corporate sense, looking to have that individual be more effective, overcome some of their shortcomings, or expand on some of their strengths to make sure that they can contribute not only on a personal level, but at a corporate business level as well.
Okay. As we come to the end of this, I just wanted to say to ask every person that I know is doing something in the world have a level of rituals. What are your rituals? 3 top rituals.
Look, in terms of rituals, I guess there are certain habits, if that's what you mean, that I have. I'm a very flexible person. I mean, I think in terms of leadership, the rituals are always around making sure that we're encouraging in the business, the young generations coming through in the business to take responsibility, to take accountability, to have the courage to actually make decisions, to make mistakes. That's the sort of way I live my life. I mean, I'm not a very religious person. I accept all faiths and all religions and respect them accordingly. But one thing that my father left for me on his deathbed was a saying which is used by many. It's one of the most common prayers in the world, and it's called the Serenity Prayer. And what it says is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I think one of my rituals is to live by that saying as much as I possibly can, because every day, like most of us, I'm faced with hundreds of pivotal decisions to make about my personal life, about my business life, about my life affecting others around me. And I think it's very important if you can remember these short, sharp things to help you make decisions. The other one is, there are 3 sorts of people. There are people who make things happen. There are people who watch things happen. And then there are people who wonder what the hell happened. And the idea is to make things happen, watch things happen and learn, and don't get stuck in the middle where you're just continually wondering what the hell's going on. Keep informed, keep educated. I think people should read a lot, should absorb a lot of information around them and what have you. But that thing, the decision making, be brave, make decisions. Know that you can't affect all things. You have the serenity to accept things that are beyond your control, courage to control the things and make the decisions you can, and be wise enough and seek. If you can't make your decision, seek counsel, seek support from people as to what you should do before you make decisions.
3 top books that have changed your life.
3 top books that have changed my life. Gee whiz. Look, I would take it to left field of there. I think what I like to do is I read avidly and absorb. I'm a news junkie, so as opposed to, I've read many books, but I think my advice, and for me personally, is absorb as much relevant information as you possibly can every day. And that's, of course, enormously accessible to us now with on the wires, on LinkedIn, on any amount of hundreds of platforms daily. And I think that's the way to go. That's the way I look at the world. I love current affairs. I love history. I love geography, but politics. And there's so much to not like about politics at the moment, but it's part of life we lead. But my view is very much. I've books every year that influence my life, but I think keeping up with the news every day and keep informed so you can make decisions for yourself and those around you. And if you're in a leadership position, being educated and understanding what's going on so you can make the best decisions for the safety and for the progress of the people around you is important.
All right. So the last final question, what's the fire you're wanting to light up in the world?
Well, I'm probably getting to the stage now where it's just more stoking the fires that have already started. I reckon I might have started enough fires over the good, bad and ugly along the way. It's very challenging times, extremely challenging times. I think I want to keep stoking the fire in Oasis Africa, Australia, and the good people that are contributing and keep engaged with the good people that are managing and leading that organisation, and encourage others to contribute and donate and support Oasis Africa. And on the business front, of course, we're in a situation where all businesses have had to pivot and transform. A big part of what we do in our corporate advisory business globally is work with companies who are transforming, and God knows just about every business you can ever think of is transforming at the moment. And I think as people, we're all needing to adapt and change and pivot and transform much about what we do in response to this global pandemic and the effect it's going to have on our lives for, God knows, decades to come, especially the younger generations. There's enormous impact on the ability to make decisions and the opportunities or lack of them that have resulted. So it's a very fine balance. For me, more moving forward, it's more stoking the fires that we've got in business and with Oasis, as opposed to starting to new fires at the moment.
All right, Kim Winter. If people who are listening today want to be in touch with you, support Oasis Africa, which I reckon everybody should get behind it, the fact that it's about education and eliminating poverty, where do they find you?
Yeah, they can go to our website, which has just been upgraded, and they can go to oasisafrica.org.au, oasisafrica.org.au. Say it's Australian-based, government-registered and authorised and audited charity humanitarian organisation. All of our funds are highly traceable. We issue financial reports to donors and all of the above, and are audited by the government every year. So I'd encourage people to do that by all means, and on the website they can contact Karen Howe, who is our fantastic lead manager and advocate in that organisation. People want to reach out to me about executive coaching or any advice I can possibly offer, then they can get me on my email, kimw@logisticsexecutive.com. So kimw@logisticsexecutive.com. Or they can go to my LinkedIn page. They'll find Kim Winter on the link page. I should be the first Kim Winter you'll find on LinkedIn, because I'm on there quite a bit.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Kim. It's been fantastic spending a bit of time with you. You're always so generous and always very educative. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Anastasia. Congratulations on your book, because I know that's about lighting fires. I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure I'll get it on Kindle. And since I haven't been back to Australia for a little while, but congratulations on the work that you do. I know you're in the front line. I know you're in the medical community, so congratulations for all the work that you do, and well done on your initiative for doing the interviews with leaders around the world. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Santi Sana.
Thank you. Yeah.